All right, everyone, going to be jumping into the top prop bets today in the MLB, WNBA, NBA, as well as the PGA. We got the US Open. So let's go ahead and get into it. And so we go ahead and start out with the MLB today. We are getting really a few decent prop bets, I would say. Christian Yelich to go over his hitting fantasy score is one of the better ones that we are going to see today. Projected to get right around 9. The average sportsbook line would have it closer to 8.3. And so the PrizePicks line of 7.5 is definitely an edge that we are looking at there. Just a solid prop bet across the board. And then we also have a good pitching fantasy score prop bet as well. David Peterson for over his pitching fantasy score of 27.5, just a solid one. The issue is that he's projected to only get 25. The average sportsbook line would have it closer to 28.5, but I do want to point out that he is projected, or his team is projected to win. Also a low game total. Like to see that there. That always is encouraging when looking at a pitching fantasy score prop bet. And DVP wise, around 26.61, so slightly lower than the PrizePicks line. But all in all, a pretty solid prop bet that we are getting. Not a lock and load. No prop bets are ever lock and load. I always say that, but going to continue to echo that. But just a solid one that we are getting there. That's kind of it in terms of bets that I really want to go out of my way to target, because we look at De La Cruz. We can see he's projected to get the over, where the average sportsbook line kind of likes the under a little bit more. I don't mind the idea of stacking Contreras up with Yelich. I think that's actually going to be a good idea to do today. And so, we probably have 3 good prop bets here on for MLB today on PrizePicks, so I'm okay with that. From there, let's go ahead and check out some PGA prop bets. And so looking at the PGA prop bets that we are getting, this is going to be for the US Open. Now, we haven't really seen this course played too much. The last time was actually for the 2014 US Open, and that data is kind of irrelevant in terms of using it for predictability purposes. So really, it's going to be tough to gauge which prop bets we should be trying to go in on or not trying to go in on. And so for me, I'm going to use this the other tab here. And I just want to call some of these prop bets here where we are getting some prop line differences. They're only slight prop line differences, but to me, they're kind of enough. And that's going to be with these ones where it's 0.5 difference. And that's probably the best way to go about attacking it, because I think there is the potential to run out some middles. And so I do want to call it that. This US Open is projected to have some really fast greens, which could lead to probably the scoring being more difficult. And so that's kind of my expectation, but you never know. The grounds could get out there and water the greens, which would then make it easier to putt on. So just be aware of that when I'm talking about these. But we see Xander's at 3.5. Birdies are better on Underdog. So that's pretty much saying he has to get 4. 4 might be a lot. At the same time, you could run out the over on PrizePicks, the under on Underdog, hope for 3. I kind of like the idea of doing that more so with these golfers right here in this group, where they still have to get 4. Birdies are better for the underdog lines to hit or to not hit. And so if you're betting the under there, chances are they probably will only get around 3 birdies or better. Whereas if they get 3 birdies or better, they're going to cash on PrizePicks. That's probably the route I'm going to go with for these. And if you look at some of these golfers that are kind of typical scorers that maybe make a little bit too many bogeys, you got Tony Finau down there, you got Tagala there as well. I kind of like those two the best. I think those are going to be some good middling opportunities. I probably would favor the over a little bit more on PrizePicks with those two specifically. Look at someone like Patrick Cantlay. He's been a little bit too hit or miss. Don't exactly trust that. I do like Min Lee to get over 2.5. Birdies are better as well. Wyndham Clark been a little bit too hit or miss to really trust. Matt Fitzpatrick been a little bit too hit or miss to really trust. But that's kind of the route I would rather go with when we are looking at some of those discrepancies that we are getting. And so for me right now, with those MLB prop bets that we are getting, those 3, if you guys want to use 3 of those PrizePicks props as well, you could. Let's go ahead and jump now into NBA. NBA I kind of like today. We know that Porzingis is going to be out or most likely going to be out. So that does shift some things. We are seeing right now, we are getting Drew Holiday for over 10.5 rebounds and assists. That is probably a prop bet that I do like. After that, though, we do know that Derek White and Al Horford get the biggest bump with Porzingis off the court. So basically this rebounds prop that we're seeing, the day is somewhat telling us to do the under. I wouldn't touch that. I'm really not going to touch any Derek White props unless they are telling me to bet the over. I do think Porzingis being out would then help someone like PJ Washington be able to get his over rebounds. But for the most part, the theme is still the same with the NBA playoffs. Not too many big edges. Like if we want to go with Al Horford for over points and rebounds, we can. 16.5. He does average that over with Porzingis off the court. Same thing with like Derek White. You could run that over as well. But again, where we're trying to focus on EV betting, probably don't need to force those in. And then WNBA wise, we are getting one Donna Evans for over 3.5 assists. That's a good EV bet. We could roll with that. And so before I get into the bet of the day, I do want to call it that we are getting a lot of current pitching fantasy score prop bets on the board, but not on the cheat sheet. That's because we don't have enough sportsbook data coming in to give proper edges on that, just as an FYI. And so I'm pointing that out because like yesterday, I mentioned on the video that, I'm going to give these prop bets out knowing that we're probably going to replace the bottom one at least with a pitching fantasy score prop bet that pops up. That ended up being Max Fried yesterday, where his under pitching fantasy score ended up being, I think, the second best prop bet after Cutter Crawford and just before Stroman. Obviously, those two both hit. So just be on the lookout for that. That does update throughout the day. The cheat sheet does. So just be on the lookout for that. And also, just real quickly before we get into the bet of the day as well, some decent prop line differences today, esports wise. Nothing too crazy, but if maybe their promo comes out for esports or something like that, you could bust one of these ones out. All right, so here we go. Going to be running out that Brewers stack here for their over hitting fantasy score. Those are two of the best prop bets that we have on the board today. Hopefully they hit. They should correlate as well. Chris Bassett, who they're going against, has been pitching well though over his last 4 games, so a slight concern there. And then we're going to go with David Peterson for over his pitching fantasy score. Again, only projected to get around 25 for his fantasy score. That's the issue. But when we look at the average sportsbook line, they heavily like the over at 28.5. So that's a pretty good prop bet there. Miami can be a little bit hit or miss with their bat as well. So hopefully David Peterson is striking out some people. And then just kind of running out these correlated prop bets here for the U.S. Open. I like the fact that these guys all have the early tee time as well. They're all kind of grouped together. So if you look at right here, that's what this is indicating. And so they all kind of add that early tee time. Just a slight thing that I like there. It wouldn't really change anything if they weren't popping up to me at all, but they are 3 prop bets that should be good prop bets for us. And so I like the fact that those are all in the same tee time. That way we don't have to worry about the weather or potentially like the greens drying up or anything like that. And so it just makes it a little bit more predictable there. So a 6-slip bet for you guys on Wednesday for prize picks. And then real quickly, we are getting 2 good prop bets for Underdog as well. I'm just using the Underdog cheat sheet. We have a lot of good or seemingly decent projected PGA prop bets. But for me today, I like Michael King and Sonny Gray for over their pitching fantasy score. You can see compared to prize picks, getting slight edges there. But again, looking at the projection data, the projection data doesn't exactly agree with those. So again, that's a slight issue. Don't need to go too crazy, but I know a lot of people come in and like to do underdog bets as well and prize picks bets. We also do have Sleeper Wildcard Wednesday available as well. So if you have Sleeper, make sure to check their board out as well. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. If you guys want access to the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. They are available for just $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck today. And as always, let's keep cashing.